Figuring things out, guys. Welcome back to Fortune and Friendship. Yes, if you got a sneak peek last week on who the guest is going to be, he's here now. It's been a week for you guys. It's been mere minutes for me. I'm just going to be totally honest with you. Normally, I like to change shirts, so it gives the illusion that it's not the same day. But it is. Nothing I can do about it. Whatever. Cat's out of the bag. Anyways, let's bring up our guest. Today, we have the honor, and I mean it, honor, to talk to Mr. Jason Merritt. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Good. What's up, man?
Doing
Good to see you again.
fantastic. So Jason, we go back a little bit. We've hung out quite a few times. But for those who are watching who have never heard your name, never seen your amazing style, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Again, my name's Jason Merritt. I'm a real estate broker and investor in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I've pretty much been in Myrtle Beach since '96, I believe, so long enough. Got into real estate in 2003. My wife and I have a property management company in Myrtle Beach, By the Beach Properties. We do long-term annual management. I had a short-term rental division that I was doing for probably about 5 years and just decided it wasn't for me. I didn't like it anymore, wasn't enjoying it. So I closed that down this past year. But yeah, so I started investing in 2003, started doing the traditional fix and flip like most people do. And after I closed my first deal, kind of got into some other strategies, seller finance, lease options. Eventually learned how to do short sales. Going that method, started doing some smaller multifamily transactions. And then the market crash happened. We were actually in Atlanta doing a big project there. Had about 130 single family homes on the west end that we were redeveloping at the time. And, with the market crash, the banks kind of froze up, eventually forced my sponsor into bankruptcy, and we kind of lost the whole project. And that's where I transitioned more into annual management. Did that for the past 12 to 13 years and really hit investing again pretty hard, probably about 24 months ago now. And so been doing some fix and flips, sold one, got one that was a pre-foreclosure, fixed it, flipped it out in Conway, South Carolina, which is about 15 minutes outside Myrtle Beach. And then I've done some other transactions, a lot of wholesaling, Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, and South Carolina. So that's what I've been doing for the regular is wholesaling, I guess, micro flipping. And then we are currently in the process of doing, I've done some small private lending stuff as well, got some loans out there. But we are currently in the process of building our first co-living housing in Myrtle Beach. So it's going to be an 8-bedroom, 8-bath house here in Myrtle Beach. And, with having annual management, it's going to be something that's going to be a little new for us doing the co-living. But I actually had joined Sam Wiegert's program probably, 6 months to 9 months ago. And I've been going to that. I think a lot of other people in the community are actually involved in that as well. But yeah, so looking forward to that. Doing the whole new construction has been a learning experience for me along the way. So that's exciting as well.
Okay, yeah. Definitely want to get to that, but I'm curious. So you mentioned you're a broker and then proceeded to talk a lot about investing. Do you focus on your brokerage at all anymore? Is that how you started?
No, I pretty much got my broker's license. Like I said, my old partner, when we were doing stuff in Atlanta, he was a big attorney here in Myrtle Beach. Fortunately, he's not around anymore. He passed away a few years ago. But he was he had a brokerage, and he kind of wanted me to get my license at that point in time. So I got my real estate license. We were doing mainly investing. I never did the typical agent. And then when everything happened with him at the end of the last market crash, I had a license, but I didn't want to go and hang my license with a typical real estate brokerage. I still wanted to stay focused on investing and going that route. So I decided to go ahead and get my brokerage license. And it also helps me if I'm buying on market deals or selling for clients, or, we have clients in our long term rental division that want to buy new properties. Plus, I have friends, family that, come to me for properties as well. So that's the reason why I mainly got my brokerage license. I did have a couple of agents under me for a while. I just didn't enjoy the aspect of trying to manage them and keep tabs on them as far as where they were in the process, contracts, and all that, the liabilities that came along with it. Um, it just wasn't for me. So I still maintain my brokerage license. I do my continuing education, but it's more for my own personal benefit. I have used it within my real estate investing strategies. Like, I'm not sure if but wholesaling was technically made illegal for real estate brokers and real estate agents in South Carolina. So I've had to restructure how I do wholesaling in South Carolina. That's why I also focus on Florida, North Carolina markets a lot more. But I've also done some other interesting things where, I have clients that are interested in selling, maybe wanting a little bit on the higher end for their property than what it's currently worth in, the market. And I go into them with the approach of, well, if you're interested in being creative with it, I can probably get you closer to what you want, kind of, opening their eyes to other traditional ways or other ways of selling a property or buying a property versus your traditional real estate, put it on the market, pay a commission, and let it sell. Um, I've done that. I've got some other friends that are investors in the area. I put in structured a deal together for one of them and did a Morby method on it back in the springtime. They ended up buying a duplex in Myrtle Beach. It was brand new, 4 bedroom, 4 bath on each side with a 4 car garage, and pretty much did a Morby method with it. And they actually use it for their J1 students, which is the foreign exchange students that come over. They're our workforce kind of in the summertime for about 3 months. But they were basically able to convert the 4 car garage to 2 studio apartments as well that they were able to house students in. And so basically within that 3 to 4 month range where they have students there, they got a DSCR loan on it, debt service coverage ratio loan. And they're able to basically cover their debt service off of those 3 or 4 months of having the J1 students in the property. And the rest of the time, they're converting it to co-living. So they have basically 10 spaces that they can convert to co-living in the off season for longer term, I guess, tenants, 6 to 9 months.
Right. Okay. I'm curious because yes, I've heard that South Carolina made it illegal to wholesale, and you said you've had to restructure that. You also mentioned something about micro flipping. Is that how you've restructured it? I've heard of it, but I don't know what micro flipping is. So if you could elaborate on that.
Well, I guess micro flipping is kind of like being, it'd be similar to Astro program or either being a connector. And you're basically working with wholesalers or sellers, and then you're, bringing in the end buyer and making your profit in between. So that's a big portion of our model, similar to the Lanza method.
Mm.
So we've done that a lot. That's what my partners and I have kind of focused on for our short-term capital. And then for short-term profits. But I'm also continuing to feed the pipeline for long-term investments as well. We purchased recently a sub 2 deal down in Ladson, South Carolina with a partner of mine from the Charleston area. And we've got a tenant in there now. Our game plan is to hold that for 3 to 5 years, accumulate some equity in it, and as the market appreciates, sell it. So we're doing some stuff like that. We've got 3 other sub 2s in that area that we're working as well. Some of them we may be adding to the portfolio. Some of them we may be just wholesaling onto another sub 2 investor or either selling it on a wrap. Obviously there's different exit strategies depending on what we're looking to do. He's got one that's currently already in his portfolio. He's doing an Airbnb arbitrage on it, and the seller is looking to sell now. So I think we're going to go ahead and do that on sub two, get the sellers their equity out, and then we'll keep it in the portfolio and let it continue to, cash flow and build up equity along the way. So we have a bunch of different stuff that we're doing. Like I said, I've been in the game since 2003, so I've kind of learned different exit strategies and ways to do deals
Hmm.
throughout the years. Which I don't suggest that for when you first get into the game, bouncing around. It's a lot easier to stay focused on one path, learn and master that before you move on to something different. But once you start to learn different techniques, you can find money in deals that other people don't see, and learn how to convert them into performing deals. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been focusing on though.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. And so, is that how you've, um, would you say, modified your method with wholesaling in South Carolina, at least by doing something like that, or is that something separate?
Well, South Carolina is different because you cannot technically wholesale a property if you're a real estate broker or a real estate agent. They don't want you selling another property without taking title to it. So you would have to either do a simultaneous or close on it, and then you would have to turn around and resell it. Other ways that you could possibly get around that is, when you're a real estate broker or real estate agent, you can have a buyer as a client, and that buyer can pay you a compensation or a commission. So if you agree to that compensation or commission on a particular property, you could still get paid on it. Versus, tying up a contract. So you would basically send the seller directly to the end buyer, and the buyer would pay you through a compensation agreement versus, flipping it or assigning a contract. So it's just one of those things. But that's one way that the attorneys have kind of let us do it here in South Carolina, where we're still able to move forward and do what we like to do.
Gotcha. So that did that make? I just want to make sure I understand completely. I get the compensation. Um, do double closing? Does that still work in South Carolina?
Yeah, double closing still works. And just to be clear, if you're not a licensed agent or a real estate broker, you can still wholesale in South Carolina. It just
Uh-huh.
has to do with the way that you're marketing what you're doing. You're having to market equitable interest in a contract. So you can't say, hey, I'm selling this property. Like you see a lot of wholesalers that'll advertise the actual property online. You have to advertise that you're assigning interest in your contract to somebody else. So it has a lot to do with the wording and the way that you're doing it. But if you're a agent or a broker, you can't do that at all. So you either have to do a simultaneous or dual closing, or either, like I said, you have to work out a compensation agreement with the buyer or the seller in order to get paid, which you would do with traditional real estate anyway. So it's a similar type concept. You just may have a different fee agreement with the buyer based on, instead of your traditional 6% or whatever the case may be. You may say, hey, my fee on this property is this, are you willing to pay that? And if they say yes, then you go that route.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I when I first heard about it, I thought it was regardless of who you were, wholesale was illegal, and I was like, oh man, because I was planning on doing a little bit in South Carolina. Especially
Yeah,
I'm only 2 hours from Greenville, so there's at least that. But
yeah,
I lived in Charleston for 3 years, loved it. I'd love to go
yeah.
back, but
Greenville and Charleston. Well, there's a lot of markets in the Carolinas that are great right now. Greenville, Charleston, Columbia, Myrtle Beach is exploding. So yeah, I think Charleston's probably one of the hottest markets in the country right now. It just keeps growing and growing. It's got so much. It's a port city too, so there's so much industry coming to that
oh yeah,
area. Factories and manufacturing that it's just an emerging market. And I don't, ever since Boeing came in and they dredged the port there and made it deeper for larger ships to come in, It's just it's not slowing down, and it's expanding outward more and more. So yeah, Charleston's a hot market,
Yeah,
especially for appreciation. I think the average homes in those areas have been appreciating at about 5-6% per year right now.
I believe it. I believe it. Um, now I spent about a year and a half, or maybe 2 years in Mount Pleasant, and then a year in Goose Creek. Totally
Okay, yeah.
different, by the way, guys. But
I mean, not so much anymore. Goose Creek is kind of getting absorbed into the greater Charleston area now. Same thing
oh,
with
really?
Somerville and Latson area and Monk's Corner as well. Like everything's just growing so much now that it's kind of like the suburbs of Atlanta.
Yeah,
Marietta and Roswell, Alpharetta technically are 40 minutes to some of those areas outside the city, but people consider it greater Atlanta now.
yeah. No, that. Oh, damn! I didn't know it got that far. I
Yeah.
remember every time we'd have to go out to Monk's Corner, I was like, God, dang it, it's gonna take forever.
And there's a lot more to see now. I think Volvo brought in a plant there, like up near Somerville, a little north of Somerville in that
Oh,
area.
okay.
And then Monk's Corner has become so big too because I think the naval base is somewhere near there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Goose Creek, Monk's Corner area.
Yep, man. Okay,
Mm.
so all right, so you're mainly wholesaling now, but you got a big project on going on about building a co-living. You said it's a 8 bed, 8 bath, I think.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. Uh,
Um,
Working with the city now because the architect's working with the city now, depending on parking. So they're going to require a certain number of parking per square footage. So we're working on that and seeing how we can get what we need on the actual lot for the number of bedrooms and baths.
gotcha. So how did this deal come about? Did you go into it planning to build, or somebody
No,
just say, "Hey, I
actually,
got this land"? Like, how did that happen?
yeah, no, actually, I didn't. Well, it's an inner city lot, so it's like you know, it's in the heart of Myrtle Beach. It's one of the prime area for especially future development. It's a few blocks from the convention center here. Maybe 5-6 blocks from Broadway to the beach, which is a big entertainment complex here. So basically, between 10th and 21st Avenue is where this property lies. And it used to be back in the day, a little bit more of a war zone. Now it's a lot of older families that are in there, and it's slowly gentrifying into a really good area. But yeah, I have wholesalers that I work with, and a wholesaler actually brought it to me and was like, "Look, I have this house." The guy had purchased it on a tax deed, and so I had to go through a process. I went ahead and went through the process with him, paid half up front when we closed, and I waited on him to get the quiet title complete because I think there was like 7 or 8 people. It was a family type deal. But the taxes hadn't been paid in like 8 or 9 years, so the family would have had to, whoever wanted it would have had to come in, um, you know, pay for all the taxes to get caught up, plus any repairs that have been done to the property, anything like that. And the property basically wasn't livable. It was a shell. So there was nothing but framing on the inside. The exterior had a lot of termite damage. Wasn't existing termites, but previous termite damage. So, and he was having problems. He came in, got a permit to work on the roof, and then he tried to start doing other stuff on the interior. The city caught him, shut him down, and so he wasn't on the city's good side at that point and was having more difficulty. So he just wanted to kind of get rid of the property. I ended up buying it, and then we closed on it, got the quiet title cleared up. So we have marketable title now. And we were going to turn it into, it could have been a 5 bedroom, 3 bath co living house. And that was kind of, we had been looking to move towards co living. I like the model because it's almost like multifamily, but on a smaller scale.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's a lot easier to find than multifamily projects. Finding people that want to sell them and finding the numbers to make sense, or finding something that can be repositioned, it isn't as easy. Where you
Right.
can find single family houses and redo them, or either build new construction for co living, and it makes sense. So just a lot easier to find the product. So we were looking at moving towards that, and then after I brought the contractor out, they kind of examined like what was there, the way the lot sloped a little bit, from the sidewalk coming into the lot, it went downhill. So when it rains, basically everything was going underneath the house, and it would hold moisture underneath the house, which in Myrtle Beach area that usually attracts termites because it softens the wood and things like that, and makes it more uh, I guess, more better environment for termites. So if we didn't tear it down and build something new, it was going to be another problem that would continue to exist down the road, and having to do replacements, repairs. So we said we might as well just tear it down, build new. We can still cash flow on the house, make it work. And then my wife and I had put on the Sub 2 Gives Thanks in this area last year for
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving, and met up with the local shelter. It wasn't the big one that Pace was doing nationwide. We didn't have them in our area. We used another one. I believe it's called New Beginnings is the name of the local charity. And when I met the director there, when we were doing that, she was talking about, I didn't realize that the shelter had different levels of people that stay there. So they have the overnight people that come in that are just looking to, get off the street for the night, have a roof over their head. If they make it in, great. But there's also another level in the shelter where they have counselors that they're working with, trying to get help to get back out into society. They're getting jobs, maintaining jobs, trying to build some things up, and basically get back on the right track in their life, whatever the situation may have been. But there's also a lot of elderly women that have moved into these shelters, and they moved in because their husbands had passed away. They lost one form of Social Security, and they don't make enough money to live on their own anymore. They still have money coming in on a monthly basis, but where rents have climbed so much, the cost of living has climbed so much, they can't afford to live on their own anymore. So
Right.
they're basically living in these shelters at this point, because they can't afford the monthly payments on stuff. So, I kind of explained to her what we were looking at doing with co living and some of these other types of properties, even the ones that are kind of looking on a short term basis to get back in. Like my partner, I said, had some properties that he was doing the J1 students, and then had the 6 to 9 month co living. And they thought it would be a great idea for people that are trying to get back out on their own to start with something like that, where they could get them into their own room, give them a deadline of 6 months. You have 6 months to get saved up, or you'll end up back here in the shelters, and give them kind of a milestone to shoot for. But also with the elderly ladies, and that's kind of what we're gearing and doing. There's a lot of elderly ladies in the community around the house where we're building. So looking at getting these ladies together, they can keep an eye on each other, but giving them an opportunity to have something more than living in the shelter, and have their own room, their own space again. But they can also be there to keep each other, give each other some camaraderie, and keep an eye on each other. So that's kind of the initial model that we're going after for the first one that we're doing.
Gotcha. Okay. So this really came about based on a conversation you had with the director of that charity, and the opportunity, right, being presented.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, we have been looking around for houses to do the normal co living, whether it's convert, a garage or other spaces to add more bedrooms, or figure out how to add more baths. Um, and we were looking. Sometimes we just couldn't get to the numbers we needed to be on the properties, and then this opportunity came about. So yeah, it definitely steered things. Talking to the director and going that direction, giving me, a little bit more of, hey, this is a niche within the co-living market that I can target.
gotcha. Okay. So now, I guess depending on how this one goes for you, right, because you're still in the middle of it.
Yeah.
In the future, do you think you'll buy and build again, or are you just going to try and convert?
Um, the thing I like about new construction versus doing fix and flips or, any type of rehab or, upfit process is what you're getting. It's a brand new structure. It's got less maintenance for the future. And as you go along and you learn what's working and not working and what helps within the co-living model, you can tweak your plans to make it more adaptive to what you're doing. So I personally like going towards the co-living model myself. Um, and Sam's program, he's been doing new construction for a lot of his programs now. And he's got some in Atlanta area, but he's building these duplexes and, bottom floor, top floor, a lot of them are 16 bedrooms altogether. And so when you can fit that, I think his basic model is like a 30 by 80 footprint, 2 stories, duplex. When you can take and create that and the cash flow you can get off of that, that's not much more than the cost of construction on a single family home. And when you have that many people living in a property together, the cash flow on it can be really good. The biggest challenge is going to be managing
Right.
because you're managing people at that point, not necessarily managing property. I mean, you do still have the managing property aspect of it, but it's more about managing relationships and the
Right.
rules of the community, things of that nature.
Yeah, so I've looked into Sam a little bit cuz we're considering co-living as an option for, you know, if the property makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um but it seems like, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but it seems like most of his stuff is he's really targeting people who in a way are single, just working, and they just need a place to sleep. For the most part, is what it seems like to me. But for you, you're going more towards elderly women, people that are kind of being put out on the streets just because of circumstances, and trying to help them kind of get their foot back in the door. Um, are we talking, or I guess my real question is, at what point does that transition into kind of like assisted living or independent living, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I guess because of the age bracket of the women that we're looking to move into this property, you could consider it more of an independent living concept, 55 plus model.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a continuing care retirement community project that I've been working on for a number of years now. And so I've kind of learned a little bit about the different levels of care within assisted living, 55 plus, skilled nursing, memory care, all that. And after COVID, a big model kind of changed where a lot of these facilities switched to a la carte in-home service. So you have caretakers that can come in and offer the assisted living aspect from within that place. And a lot of people, I've noticed in Florida, there you have single family models that have transitioned into assisted living facilities. So you have somebody that'll come in, they'll cook, meals for the person each day. They do housekeeping, and they're making sure that they're taking their medications. And those types of models are great. I haven't looked into, what kind of funds are available for that, or, if Medicare, Medicaid, or whoever can, the supplemental income that can come in from that. Um, but yeah, it's not out of I think that's just kind of nearing down on that niche more and more, versus, what you're saying, the young independent workers or single people that are working. Um, I think Sam was saying his average like turnover for a tenant, they last anywhere from a year to about a year and a half. And then typically they're going to transition out of that and move somewhere else. So, you know, my idea would be to try to have tenant retention as long as possible. So something like assisted living, obviously they probably stay there a longer, But you usually don't know how long till this person has to go into full-time care, or something happens and the person passes away. But chances are, you're going to probably get I would say a 2 to 5 year span on something like that.
Right.
And then, go into something a little bit more in depth. And who knows, maybe I could work it into my model with my other property where we're looking at doing the continuing care and kind of transition them along. But yeah,
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, that's definitely a way to kind of like even narrow down my niche and what I'm doing in co-living even more, and turn it into
Yeah.
something.
Well, I'm glad I could be of some inspiration there.
Yeah, your check's in the mail, Corey.
All right. Fantastic. Oh man. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So that's your main focus right now, though, right? Outside of your little bit of wholesaling that you're doing for short-term cash.
Yeah, that's my big project. And then, like I said, moving some of these sub two deals, or either continuing to add the sub two deals to the portfolio. I've kind of looked at what I did at one point is I kind of took a step back and I said, I have 3 buckets basically that I try to work. One is immediate short-term cash, which is like the wholesaling, so
Mm-hmm.
you can get quick turnarounds, build chunks of cash for that. And then I have my medium bucket, which is that 3 to 5 year range, which is kind of like what I'm doing with some of these sub two deals, where either we'll sell them on a lease option or either we'll rent them out, and it may cash flow a little bit, but we're just going to let somebody else pay down the principal balance and build appreciation through, you know, the market rising over time. And then I've got the longer term things that I want to hold for cash flow, because in the end, cash flow is what really counts. That's what pays the monthly bills. That's what gives you the more freedom to do what you want to do or get into other bigger projects. So that's kind of the buckets of my real estate portfolio that I'm building, and I kind of look at deals in that aspect. Which one does this fit into, and then figure out my exit strategy there. But for the longer term, I would like to get into more new construction and co-living model for the cash flow. Or if I have something that may not work for the co-living model, but I have a lot that I can do new construction house and sell, I would be interested in doing that as well, continuing to go that route.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Cool. Well, that was going to be my next question. What's the future like? But kind of just answered that, so that's awesome. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think long term, I'm like a lot of people in the investment community that look towards multifamily down the road, larger multifamily projects. So yeah, I'm constantly got that in the back of my head. But right now, I'm not devoting a lot of time and attention into it. I always review them when they come in, and if the numbers look like they make sense, then I would probably JV up with somebody like Pace or somebody else that has the greater knowledge and experience in larger multifamily projects. I don't think I would
right.
try to tackle them on my own at this point.
Gotcha. Gotcha. No, that makes total sense. That's my goal too. Eventually, is to get into multifamily. But my reasoning was for the cash flow, because like ultimately, yes, right now we're trying to do a little bit of wholesaling, get that quick cash, cherry pick properties we want to put into our portfolio. Um, but then my goal is to buy a farm and make that my active income, right?
Yeah,
Um, so cash flow would be nice. Just give you a little more freedom to do that type of stuff.
I mean,
Um,
my dream down the road, in the next 5 to 10 years, I would like to own acreage in Costa Rica. My wife and I both love it there, but we would like to have some sort of small resort that also has a farm on it, and that would kind of be our dream and long term destination goal, I guess, where we'd like to end up down the road.
there you go. See, yeah, ideal for me is a farm on an island out in the Caribbean. That's
Yeah.
that is ideal for me. My wife, not so much. She likes the mountains. which is actually why we're kind of looking near Chattanooga,
Mm-hmm.
because we went up there for my daughter's fourth birthday, um, and I had the realization. I was like, "This is the best of both worlds, right? It's on a river, and the style of the place kind of gives it a slight Charleston feel.
Mm-hmm.
Not like extremely, it's not like Southern plantation, type stuff, but it
Yeah.
has that old historic feel. Um, and it's in the middle of the mountains. Like it's the
Yeah.
best of both worlds. So that's really why we're thinking about it.
Have
But
you taken her to the mountains in the Caribbean yet?
no, I haven't. I got to do that.
Like I know the western side of Costa Rica. Like we've been there a few times, and you go on the Pacific coast there, and literally the mountain drops off into the ocean. But it's I like the best of both worlds. I like the mountains. Unfortunately, I don't like the cold, dry air that comes with the mountains a lot of times in the States. I like the more tropical moisture and, the tropical living.
Yep.
So if you get to one of those areas and experience it, you can get the best of both worlds. So
Yeah.
if you ever
So
get a chance,
far,
check it out.
oh yeah. So far, the my favorite um, place that I've been to in the Caribbean, at least, is Saint Kitts and Nevis.
I haven't been there.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, is that?
Nevis is a mountain apparently covered with monkeys. So
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, there's a lot of monkeys down there. That's for sure.
yeah, but all right. Well, Jason, I've pretty much run out of questions. Um, so is there anything else you want to say before we move on to the last part of our show?
No, I think for me, I think one of the biggest things is continuing to learn and learn to find faults in myself to continue to develop and grow on. Um, one of the things that I have worked on this past year and that I did, I got my wife and I just celebrated 25 years. We went to Costa Rica. And I've lasted longer than any of my friends that I know in marriage. Most of them are a year, 2 years. I think the longest one I have is like 15 years, and they eventually split ways. But I got a marriage coach this past year. One of the guys in the community is a great coach, Keston Glasgow. I went into his coaching program, and it was really, really cool and eye opening. But I was able to take what I learned in that program and also apply it to my other relationships and my business and what I'm doing. And it's really kind of helped me out in a lot of ways, learning how to communicate with people, deal with situations, and even how my wife and I communicate with each other. And so I think continuing to find different aspects of your life to work on, not just focus on money, but being more well-rounded as an individual, whether it's communication, fitness, health, whatever. I look into a lot. I know you were really working out a lot at one point in time. You look great, by the way, man.
Oh,
Uh,
thanks. Yeah, I got to get back to it. I gained a little bit of baby weight with, my
yeah,
wife being pregnant, but
yeah. You had to eat the good stuff too, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Unfortunately,
I've
now it's
been
holidays, so
same thing with me. I mean, I think you and I went and hiked Camelback when we were in Arizona a year
yep.
ago, or almost a year ago, and walked out and saw the sunrise. That was really cool, and I was kind of just starting to get heavy back into working out again. Had to keep up with you, but but yeah, I work out like 6, 7 days a week right now, man. And I think just having that even the clarity of noticing it on days when I'm not working out, like how I'm handling situations and dealing with things, and how my body feels, and like I said, just personal development, finding something to continue to work on, I think is a key component in life and being a well-rounded individual. But it's going to help excel you in personal and business in my opinion.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that's why, like, I love the Live Hard program, 75 Hard, and all the phases that go with it.
Mhm.
Um, Unfortunately, I won't be completing it this year simply because when I'm supposed to start the final phase is actually on the due date of our child, and the rest of December I'll be Mr. Mom. So I know I'm not going to be able to keep up with that and taking care of the kids and stuff. So, but sometimes I'm doing what I can. So I try and get a workout in every day, whether that's just walking or like yesterday I did 2 workouts. So it's just a part of the process. It's actually I'm reading a book called Never Play It Safe.
I've heard of
Um,
it. I've never read it.
yeah, it no joke just showed up at my house when I didn't buy it.
Yeah,
Um, it was Jim Quick, I guess.
that's right. That's it. You
Yeah.
got it in the mail like a week or two ago, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, okay. I got the same book because I've done some of Jim Quick's programs too. He's an amazing guy, man. I
Oh yeah.
like I went through his speed reading course, and so I forget there's some other one that I had done as well. But it was cool to see myself grow like with reading and learning how to retain information better. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that book. You like it
Yeah.
so far?
It's got some good points. It's got some examples that I'm kind of like, I don't know, kind of sound like a cop out, but that's my own mentality. One of the things I try and take away, Andy Frisella, the guy who created 75 Hard, he talks about when you start a book, you finish it, right? Even if the book is absolutely terrible and you don't like any part of it, there's probably at least one sentence in there that you can take and implement and will improve your life,
Yeah.
right? That goes for development books, guys. I'm not saying like Harry Potter or Twilight or anything like that. Um,
But there
so
could
like,
be something in there too.
yeah, probably. But so for this one, like the it goes into levers. These levers that we have are available to us at all times that we've just kind of been taught to ignore. So it's talking about like attention, time, failure, intuition, like all these different things. And the first two were great. I was like, oh, this one's speaking to me. It's great. I love it. I think it was intuition was kind of eh. Um, but then there was one other that I can't even remember that I was like, not really feeling this. I'll just get through the rest of the book.
Yeah.
Um, but the chapter I'm on now is about failure. And something that stuck out was, and I'm probably butchering his name. Um, his name was, I think it's Jai Jiang. He immigrated from China with a dream of building a company so big that he can buy Microsoft. Um, and then years he got stuck in the corporate ladder and all that stuff. And then he learned about rejection therapy. He got so afraid of rejection that um, he ended up taking advice from someone to do, I think it was like for a month, every day asks for something or do some or something like that, but basically to get rejected. So, he would ask the waitress at a restaurant, "Hey, can you give me a bottle of Dom Perignon if I buy a ribeye?" Like all these random requests. One of them, he asked a cop if he could take his cop car for a spin.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Um, and what he found out was that one, the rejection is actually nuanced. One, the cop was like, "Heck yeah, go for it." So he actually got to drive the cop car. Um, but there were other things like asking somebody if he could plant flowers in his yard. They would say no, but it wouldn't just be like, "No, get out of here," right? It would be like, no, don't plant flowers here because my dog's probably going to dig them up. Go next door, they'll let you plant flowers. So, like, he's learned that the world is a little kinder than we think it is, and rejection's not actually that scary. There's not typically just a flat out rejection. Um, that there's nuance to it and there's reasoning for it. So
Yeah,
I've thought about trying to implement that type of stuff. But what you were saying about growing and I don't remember how you worded it, and maybe I misinterpreted it, but basically coming up against struggles and how to deal with those. Um, you know, just keep going.
yeah. I think once you realize that everything happens in life for a reason, you're given a choice, and the question is how do you look at it? You know, it goes back to the glass half empty, the glass half full mentality, and it's how you learn to navigate those, and how you communicate, and how sometimes people can communicate. I know me, I'm an analytical person. And for when I talk to people, sometimes it's just about delivery, and how I'm saying what I want to say. It may not come across to the other person the way that I mean it to, if I don't think about how they may be receiving it. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so there's constantly something that I'm working on through self development. Not all like, hey, how can I better myself to make a bunch of money? It's just becoming a better person and figuring out how I can be more productive in society as far as giving back to my community, giving back to people. Being the go giver. That was a great book that Pace kind of turned us on to, and understanding that, like, we have something right now we're trying to do for the kids in different communities throughout South Carolina. A couple of the leaders have teamed up, and we're trying to do participate in the Angel Tree the Salvation Army does, and we're trying to get as many gifts as we can for the different kids, so that maybe we can continue to grow on it and help more and more each year. And so that's one of the things that we're doing in the community. But yeah, just trying to give back, but figuring out ways that you can contribute and help. I had a student, or he wasn't a student, but he's a student in sub two, but he had just quit his job probably like a month and a half ago, I guess. Well, he didn't quit; he got laid off, and the guy had already been in the program doing some deals, things like that, but he was very, very nervous about being on his own. And I remember the first time for that, when I left my job and went into real estate full time. It's very intimidating because you're used to getting a paycheck all the time or having money in your pocket, and it's like, okay, well, now what am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills? What am I, and he came to me with this deal, and he had gotten it from a wholesaler, and he was like, hey, I have this deal. Do you mind seeing it, or do you know anybody that would possibly be interested in it, or would you be interested? And I basically just connected, the wholesaler with the buyer, and we got paid in between. But he got a nice fat paycheck, and I did too. We split the deal, JV'd on the deal. But and I was like, well, how many of these do you need to do a month, or to feel good? And I was like, do you feel a little better about like being on your own? He's like, yeah. And he's going at it hard, but he knows he can do it. I was like, just keep your head down, stay focused, man. And it's exciting when you can do things like that and help people out, on different levels in the business, or within outside the real estate investment community, and helping people on levels of just being a good human being. My wife and I went up to North Carolina mountains a few weeks ago, and we're helping out up there, cutting trees and delivering supplies to people up there. We teamed up with some other people in the community, got a bunch of stuff together, and delivered trailers up to that area, supplies. So it's, these are things I didn't think about at a younger age, but I try to do that more and more, and figure out ways, how can I help this person versus what can I get out of this person, and it's changing that mindset.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Jason, let's jump to the last part of our show.
All right.
So just a few questions, pretty basic. First, what made you want to be on the podcast today?
I saw you interviewed everybody else in the community but me. No, I mean, we've always gotten along great whenever we've connected, and I enjoyed spending time with you. I saw you reached out, so I was like, hey, why not? It'd be a good chance for us to reconnect, catch up with each other, and uh, I've seen a couple of your other shows that you did with some people, and it was kind of entertaining. And I just like getting on and hearing more about you, as well as you learning more about me, and sharing that with people in the community or people out there.
Awesome, awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've tried not to be like super pushy. Like, hey, I got a podcast. Get on my podcast. So I'll throw a post up every now and then. Hey, who wants to be on it? And so when I saw you post, I was like, yes, get Jason on there. That's great. Um, awesome, awesome. Okay, so Jason, and you've kind of alluded to it already, but somebody watches this podcast, they're like, oh man, I want to be just like Jason when I grow up. I want to have that style, slick hair, looking great. Um, so I want to work with him and learn as much as I can from him. So they reach out to you. What value can you bring to them other than your sense of style? What kind of value you can bring to them?
Um, I think just my level of experience in the real estate industry. I've got a lot of experience. I like trying to help people and kind of give them scenarios of which paths they could possibly go, and let them make a decision. I can't make people make the decision, but I can try to give them different angles of paths to choose, and hey, let's walk down this path and see, what this outcome is. Let's walk down this path and see what this outcome is. Based on my experience, here's some things that I've come across. Or, like I said, making connections with people, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned is continuing to network within this community and making connections. Like, I may talk to you and you may have a deal and I don't have anybody for it today, but I may meet somebody tomorrow that it's perfect for them,
Mm-hmm.
and learning to continue to build that, and making yourself be known within the community, putting on events, coming to events. Network is what it's all about, and building those relationships. And you're really good at that as well. You continue to do that, and I think that's one of the biggest things is I can provide a network. I know a lot of people. I have connections to a lot of people within the community and the real estate investment world. So just, that, or just helping out and giving you my advice on how to handle a transaction, or, possibly what to do within a transaction. Not an expert in all forms of real estate, but, I do have a lot of experience.
Awesome. Awesome. So, on the flip side of that, someone comes to work with you. What kind of value are you hoping they bring to you?
I think the biggest thing that I like to see is people that are action takers, people that ask questions and continue to ask questions, and but also at the same time, I look for somebody that is going to be a little bit decisive in what choice that they're choosing to do. And you don't want them coming to you for every little single thing where it's like, okay, you got to make some decisions on your own. But I also don't want people that come and waste your time and then don't do anything. I've
Mm-hmm.
met plenty of people like that just aren't action takers. If you got something that you got to overcome because you're not good at something, figure out what that is and let people know it. I think one of the biggest things, I wish there was a way that they had a test to figure out what your avatar was in the community, because so many people go through this just trying to figure out what works for them, what doesn't work for them, what they like, what they don't like. And if they could identify their avatar, they would know a little bit better which direction to move in. But it would also help for people that, maybe bringing you on, understanding what they're good at, because you don't want to put the quarterback on the defensive side of the ball. You got to put people in the right positions to grow your team and to work well and help them be productive in their own element, because you're going to get the best performance out of somebody, when they're comfortable doing what they're doing and having fun doing what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think action takers are one of the biggest things, man. Just somebody who's really gonna take action and is serious about doing something.
Okay. Awesome. So what is some advice you would have for someone newer to the game?
I think number one would probably be figure out your avatar. Know what you like doing. If you don't like talking to people on the phone, don't do cold calling. If you're good at doing back end computer stuff and you love it and you're just in your element with that kind of stuff, and you're the integrator, then figure out how you can put that to action and do something. Everybody's team needs somebody, and they need somebody's role within that team. So figure out what you enjoy doing. If you have to wake up every day for the rest of your life and do the same thing, what would you have fun doing? What would you feel comfortable doing? What would you enjoy doing? Because it's going to help you, be the best that you can be, but be productive at it. If you're not going to give it 100%, figure out what you will give 100%.
Yeah. Now, and I think an important part of that as well is he says know what you like doing and know what you don't like doing. In order to know something, it's not just knowledge or information in your head. You actually have to take action on that. So you say you don't like cold calling. Well, have you cold called? If you haven't cold called, you can't say, it's like I tell my kids, right? I don't like this food. Have you tried it? You can't say you don't like it if you don't try it, right?
Yeah.
So that's one reason, like the team that I'm building, which we talked about a little bit earlier, that's my goal, is actually to help people figure out their avatar. But you start by cold calling. Do that for a little bit.
Yep.
Really make a decision. Oh, I do like this. I enjoy talking to people. I like building rapport. All right, maybe you move up to a closer. Oh my God, I would hate to have to call somebody all the time. All right, let's try it something else. Right? Okay, how do you like underwriting? How do you like talking to other investors? Do you like doing, like the back end stuff, actually building out systems? Like, what is it that you like to do?
And I think a good way to probably figure that out too, like what you're saying, is figure out what people's greatest fear about doing that is. Like when they say, I don't like it, I don't like cold calling. Well, what's your biggest fear? Okay, well, maybe they don't deal with rejection, So, well, here, how do you overcome rejection? There's ways to overcome that. And all of a sudden, it's no big deal anymore. And it becomes more natural and you're able to be your natural self. But yeah, some people just possess certain skill sets or, their brain works differently in different ways, so. But yeah, you definitely should try something out to figure out whether or not you like it. Some of the best people in here didn't like doing cold calling at all, or thought they didn't like cold calling, or they were shy, or, sometimes it's people don't know what to say, but all of a sudden, they're closer number one, on a team, and they found their element.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Jason, for those people that do want to work with you, be action takers and help you out in things, or just bring you value in an attempt to steal your value, right? Because let's be honest, that's what you're doing. We know. Where can people get in touch with you?
Well, my Instagram handle is on the screen here at the _Meritage, or you can reach me at Jason Merritt on Facebook. I do get a lot of incoming messages and friend requests, so the best way is to shoot me a direct message on Facebook or either in Instagram, and then that way you kind of filter yourself through some of the other people that are just throwing out a friend request. Because I have maxed out on Facebook with the number of people that I have. So I have to constantly go through nowadays and figure out who I'm getting rid of to allow new people to come in. So not really a bad position to be in, but as I get further along, I have to look at how's my relationship, like how are these people active in my life on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and how often am I communicating with them, or whatever the case is, how are we working together, doing deals together. And for some of those people that I've never talked to you, never met you, or anything like that, then you're probably not going to make a cut nowadays.
There you go. Well, awesome, Jason. That's all I got. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
No, I look forward to it, Corey. And, hopefully, probably wait till after you get squared away with the little one that's en route, and you get a little bit more free time. But we'd love to have you on our show. We do a weekly one, Tribe of Visionaries, and it's kind of more of a roundtable thing. But yeah, we'd love to have you on there sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll, as soon as we get all that stuff squared away, I'll be sure to sign up.
All right. Sounds good. If I don't talk to you, man, have a great Thanksgiving and holiday season.
You as well. You as well. Well, guys, that's our show. In the comments below, tell me what you thought. Tell me how great you thought Jason's style was. If you can figure out what books he has behind him or whatever, or about whatever he talked about, right?
And like
this
video.
Yeah. Like the video. No, wrong button. This one. Like and subscribe. And guys, come back next week. I'm gonna try and get more special guests up because, like he said, I am having a little one here coming up soon. If by the time this airs, she's not already here. So hopefully I'll be able to get all these up so you guys don't have to hit a lapse. You will get them every Monday. That's the goal. But if there is a lapse, I apologize. I'll do better. All right, guys. We're all about growing, doing better. That being said, guys, I'm going to stop rambling. I hope you have a wonderful week. Peace be with you. Love you guys. Until next week, have a beautiful time.
Peace.